What kind of books do you read? Just be truthful.
Understand that the limelight can be a trap from the real assignment. So as powerful as the media is for projection, there are times we must intentionally shut down so that they won't see us coming.
But let me come to the point of virality. Everything God places in a Christian must go viral. Is it what you believe?
Trends are built on what the people can relate to. One of the things that points to your operation is the problem you can identify. If you can identify a problem, it is because there is an internal design from God in you to solve those problems.
Apostle, there's a revelation of honor that you have. Do you want to speak to it a bit? Then when you speak to it, talk about the fact. You drop the microphone. So, Apostle, I want to ask you some questions. I want you to be free about it. First question I want to ask you is, what kind of books do you read? Because I've listened to you once in my life, just once. And I think that I only listen to 3 people in my life. So I'm a very deep thinker. So I don't change what I listen to as a person. Then one day I listened, then I said, okay. But I want to ask you, what kind of books do you read? Just be truthful.
All right. That question is not that simple because
you can tell the mind of somebody when you hear the person talk.
I mean, maybe foundationally, I do a lot of doctrinal books to sharpen my doctrinal perspective. I do a lot of leadership books. John C. Maxwell, leadership. Steve Harvey, a lot of his books. But predominantly Rick Joyner. Rick Joyner, predominantly.
Why Rick Joyner?
Balanced doctrine, prophetic perspective.
Balanced doctrine, prophetic perspective. Beautiful. Let's put our hands together for Apostle. At this point as a church, this is my first question. What should be the project of the church? What should the church be focused on? And this is why I'm asking this question. We are all doing the same thing. And people go from meetings to meetings, but we are the same set of people. We are sharing the same message. And so it's just the same meeting in many ways. Probably the same set of speakers. What should we be focused on now as a church by prophetic agenda?
And I think this is the next thing in line that I'm doing, is covert operations. To understand that the limelight can be a trap from the real assignment and get behind the shadows for real discipleship and influence work. So, covert operation. That's what I believe we should be doing now. Focusing on the next generation, thorough discipleship, doctrinal and systemic training. It is far more rewarding than many of the things going on out there. It may not appear immediately, but the rewarding will show up later. Covert works.
So these covert operations, how can it be carried out? Do you want to distill what the curriculum of such discipleship should entail?
I want to what?
Can we distill the curriculum?
Have we distilled it?
Can we distill it? Can you distill it here? Can you explain a few things around that curriculum?
Yes.
Yes,
Maybe a few.
Yes, please.
First is that we need to, for God to bring the Israelites of Egypt, they needed to be in Goshen first. We need to have our own Goshen structure. We need to have our own hosting platforms. Many of the platforms with which we can operate, they are structured in a way that there are things that the algorithm system push, and there are things that the algorithm system won't push. So we need to be able to build our own nation away from the nation. And then first, doctrine. Understanding the basics, because if there's no foundation, it will limit the intention of what you want to build. So the people need to be built on correct doctrinal foundation of the truth, salvation, redemption, Holy Spirit and His gift, understanding all these basic stuffs. Then we can go further into understanding. There's something called dispensational theology. All right, to understand the dispensation that we're in and how to navigate this dispensation. The training required. It will be a time that Moses needs to agree with Jethro, effective.
Okay. You want to say some more about that?
Yeah, I'll just stop there.
Please clap well so that Apostle can speak for long. Okay. The basics that you built on the Goshen structure and the other structures. The next question. Media. What do you think as a church we should begin to focus on as regards media? What can media do for the church? What can media do for the church?
This is a very, very serious question. Media can be tricky, but it's very important. We need to get it right. That's the first thing. We need to get it right. We need to understand that what we project, if I sit down here to speak Yoruba, I will only speak to those who understand the language.
Yeah.
So what we project will only make sense to the people whose language we are speaking. So the church needs to master excellence in terms of projection, and also understand the danger of designing our war strategy in the open field. So as powerful as the media is for projection, there are times we must intentionally shut down so that they won't see us coming, and create our own platforms. I project in the next 10, 15 years, any church organization that don't have their own hosting platforms will struggle to be on media in less than that. They won't be able to cope the rules. One of the reasons why we have the controversy in Nigeria now is the monetization of Facebook. You shut it down, the noise goes down immediately. So many of those pushing and projecting things about the church are not interested. They are cashing out from our foolishness. That's what's going on. So when we understand the system, we understand the way it works. And our tech people need to understand that it's time to build ours. But also our finance team need to come in and understand the economic aspect of it. The both needs to meet. And don't let's give our strategy the open, but let's stop there. I mean, we need to do something.
Yeah, but this is like a meeting of strategists. I know that there are some things we should not discuss on camera, which are the real stuff. But let me come to the point of virality.
Yeah.
Everything God places in a Christian must go viral. Is it what you believe? And how powerful is that?
Maybe should go viral. Depends on what. Unfortunately, trends are built on what the people can relate to. For instance, I can probably lay down some psychological aspect of the media and what shows what and what shows what. So, I think going viral, particularly with the truth, is important. But the addiction to it can be dangerous too. And it's not necessary sometimes.
Wow. Okay. A few questions from the crowd. I'll come back to mine. I'm finding it difficult to sharpen my Christian faith. I find myself going back to what I vowed not to. My spirit is against it, but my flesh is very weak. Praying and fasting also seems difficult. I'm feeling like a church goer. How do you think I can deal with this?
I mean, community. Take a hot coal away from the fire, it dies. Put it back where there are other hot coals, it's kindled. There's a reason why we don't forsake the gathering together, brethren. If we stay the community of ourselves, we can sharpen ourselves. If I have issues with prayer and I stay with the one who doesn't have issues with it, the fellow will help my weakness. So the fellow needs a very good community where you can sharpen those things and you'll be good.
Let's put our hands together. I am a lazy person. Sorry, the person is a lazy person. And he or she lacks consistency. But I want to know how I can build systems. Apostle, the second one, let's make it two. Do you have inner struggle between the kingdom and the secular? Explain how you navigate it, particularly if things are juicy.
Okay. So system simply means a structure that is built to be repetitive and self-functioning. Number one, you can't talk about having a system if you don't have a structure. And it takes diligence to have a structure. And one of the signs that you have a structure is that the structure is no respecter of your weakness. So you have to have operations that you are compelled to perform, whether or not you feel like. Nobody breaks through in life only doing what they feel like. So you've got to be surrounded with people that can hold you to account. And there must be consequence for failure. That's number one. So laziness, then change your confession about yourself. Build intentionally. Then the fellow who talked about whether I have conflict between system, kingdom and secular, and how I deal with them. Well, primarily, I'm a kingdom person. And I've had the conflict in the past. Decided to toe the area of academics and career. And I discovered that there's a meeting point. There are certain doors that will not open if you have not navigated the boat. So I want to understand the context of what we call secular, because secular doesn't mean sin. I want us to understand that. All right? So, for instance, not everyone will have to leave their professions to hold the mic. All right? So there are points that there are balance and we can straddle the boat, if well understood.
Please clap for Apostle. So I have two questions here. I want to loop it together. The first question there is, how can someone change his mentality about religion? You know, when you grow in a family destroyed by pastors and religion. So probably they've had, you're teaching church hut now. Church hut. That's what you're teaching online presently. And the second question is, to change the system, does it mean we now have to separate ourselves from religion and focus on the reality of the kingdom? So I think some semantics there.
Okay, so the fellow whose family was destroyed by religion, so-called what the situation was, there are many of those stories, several of them. Even people match-made and they married wrongly, whose lives have been affected. One of the things that points to your operation is the problem you can identify. If you can identify a problem, it is because there is an internal design from God in you to solve those problems. If you run away from the church because a problem was created, your children will have to suffer it and try to fight it. So we get hurt everywhere, and I want us to just understand that. We get hurt in our families, we get hurt in our place of work, we get hurt everywhere. The only place people are quick to threaten to exit is the church. And that's because we have not yet accepted the church as our spiritual family. We have not yet seen the church as a necessity. Hence the reason why when people get peace, they get offended, the next thing I want to quit the church. And that should not be there. God said the solitary in families, but the rebellious dwell in dry land. All right? Then the fellow asking if we have to quit religion to do systems. What are you talking about? We are talking kingdom, not religion. Kingdom. Christianity is not a religion. Religion is man-made. It's man-made development. We are talking kingdom. It's the very reason for your existence. Christ in you, the hope of glory. That through you he can command his influence across nations. That has nothing to do with religion. All right? And why should you quit church to spread the agenda of the church? Something seems to be wrong with that arrangement. All right?
All right, very quickly. Apostle, in a very practical way, how can we deal with, as a church, how do we deal with LGBTQ plus? Practically. As a church, number 2, how can addiction be dealt with?
Practical ways. How is it spreading? Narratives. Deal with it, narratives. You see, the church needs to understand the power of storytelling. Through songs, through music, through movies, those who write. The reason why a narrative is thriving is because that's the loudest. It is a single story. Don't let me get into that. All right? So we've got to understand the power of creating and pushing our own narratives. And by doing that, you are desensitizing them from the toxicity that they already know. And we are creating new awareness. All right? In a very appealing way. And if someone has a psychological issue, you will know this is a psychological issue and this is the real solution. What's the main push behind LGBTQ? Identity crisis. Identity, that's it. Then we've got to be able to counter that. You can't kill ideas with bullets. You can't kill ideas with all those things. You need stories to reorientate people from the way they think. How do you deal with addictions? Very simple. Be committed to purpose. Let me say this to you. Addictions don't die in a day because they are not built in a day. It takes time to build. You will have to be given to the word on a consistent basis and growth. Let me give you a scripture for that. Isaiah 10 verse 27 says that it will come to pass that the yokes of the Assyrians will be broken from off your neck and their burden from off your shoulders, and the yoke will be destroyed because of the anointing. The root word there is the word rimon, that means fatness. In literal terms, it means the yoke will not fit your neck because you have grown fat. As you resume and continue growing, the same yoke won't fit in because it's not the same person. That is how we outgrow it.
Solid. So, Christians, let's learn to tell stories. I know it's boring to talk about Jesus to you, but you are being at disadvantage even to the kingdom if you cannot tell good stories. Can you make everything you come in contact, if it is kingdom driven, can you make it viral? Can you make it viral? It's important that every time you do those things, you are supporting an agenda beyond chores. They said we should do it all. No, you are supporting an agenda, and you don't need to know who is pushing it, provided it's Jesus and you can check the motive. Please do it. Thank you. So let me quickly go back because I have 2 questions, and I still have 2 questions here, and the time is fast. But Apostle, what will you call the church of the future? what should the gathering of the church of the future look like? What should the church of the future be doing? I know you've talked about discipleship, core stuff. What should church service look like? What should they be taught? You see, I'm not leaving that curriculum thing behind. So I want to get somewhere, that's why.
Yeah, it's tricky answering your question, sir. I think the church of the future will be the church of the real definition of the church, ecclesia. It is the house of Senate. It is the gathering of decision makers. We have to resume that place of making that decision. It's not the gathering of those who are in need, but the gathering of those who meet needs. So we come to that place of strength and awareness of who we are. What we still have, as fantastic as it is, to have that church, our gathering cannot be need-based. We are coming to equip, then spread. There are Jewish feasts that were used to illustrate the season of revival. And the last of them all is not a gathering, it is intent. So it means that the church of the future is a church whose capacity is not seating strength, but sending strength. And that's where we're going.
Now you see why I like him. You see that there's so much. You see why I like him. Okay, let me go back to this. After vowing to push the agenda of God's kingdom and vowing to be a tool, what do you do next? I think it's that prayer that they just prayed now. That what do you do next? So, the person wants to know. Then the other one is, you said the entire... You said we are in a season of harvest. Hence, we are investing now in the world. Okay, just answer that first one.
The fellow said you have vowed to make a difference. Then what do you do next? Make a difference.
Keep making a difference.
That's what you do next. Do what you have vowed to do. That should be the next thing, right?
Let's put our hands together for Apostle. So, let me ask you a very powerful question. How do you rest? What do you do when you rest?
I rest. I think God has really blessed me with a very powerful team. Individuals who can share the burden and who understand what we all must do. We work as a single entity. So I had to make a few decisions to be able to get the rest in this season. But I rest.
How do you rest? Tell me what you do. How do you rest?
I just returned from London, which was a trip majorly to rest. A few ministry
and you didn't
work.
preach. You didn't preach.
In our church, I did. And
so
also preached in Italy.
You still preached in Italy, then preached in your church?
Yes.
Then,
but for the remaining days, I was resting.
So was there a day you did not step out at all? How you rested?
No day.
Okay. Do you play any sport or something?
I go to the gym, except that this year I've not been too faithful. But I go to the gym, I train boxing.
You train boxing?
Yes. So I go to the gym. Maybe next year I don't plan to travel for any external meetings, so I can focus on covert operation and health.
Okay. So you don't plan to travel for so much meetings next year?
No.
So I'll give you a date this year for next year. So that it's next year that you will not plan. So I'll give you a date for next year. So that it's 2024 date. Glory be to God. Let me say something about Apostle. You know, honor is a very powerful thing. Honor is a very powerful thing. There was a day he just sneaked into one of, if you're in Connect, you just say, Apostle, he just came for Connect, he just showed up. I want to say something about him. And I treated it to him in the office. When I went to preach for him at the ministers' conference a few years ago, I came from Abuja. So I was doing a few trainings for the Warri Kingdom. So I just finished and I came straight to his conference. So as I got to the conference, as I arrived at the compound, I got Bishop Wale's call and he said, I need to see you now. I said, I'm set to preach somewhere, but I can turn and come and I will explain to the person. He said, you will turn? I said, yes. He said, please don't turn. Finish what you're doing and come. I said, yes, sir. So I finished, I did the night, I did the morning. So since I came from Abuja, so my car was not in Ibadan. So his team, he told them to take me to Lagos. I said, wow, that's very generous of you. Then he got me a military officer to ensure I meet the meeting very fast, Bishop Waleoke. So I got to Bishop Waleoke's office, the PFN office in Lagos, the national office. As I got there, Bishop Waleoke said, we can't talk now, let's go to a hotel. So I now told his team, thank you. At least you brought me here, you guys were fantastic. Help me greet Apostle. The team said, sir, we are not trained like that. I said, what do you mean? They said, we are following you to a hotel. I said, I'm in Lagos. This is where I live. They said, we are following you to a hotel. I struggled with these guys, and they said, no. They followed me to a hotel. So myself, Nathaniel Barsi, and Osakwe, so we had a meeting with Bishop Waleoke, a few people, and I came down. I met this team, and I thought they had gone home. Listen, it was in the middle of their conference. So it means that they are needed at the conference. And number two, they were pastors. I met them 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. in a hotel. Okay. They said they just wanted me. Okay, now you can go. They said, no, sir. I said, what's the next thing? They said, tell us where you are going to. I said, I'm going home. They took me home. Then I said to them, it's late. You can't go back to Ibadan. I'll put you in an hotel to sleep. They said, we are not trained like that, sir. We are going. True life story. True life story. Apostle, there's a revelation of honor that you have. Do you want to speak to it a bit? Then when you speak to it, talk about the father. You drop the microphone. Then talk about honor for the fathers.
Thank you, sir. Honor basically is perception of what? Whichever way you decide to treat a man is a reflection of your revelation of the person. The fastest way for the devil to cut people off inheritances is dishonor.
Please say it again.
The fastest way for the devil to cut people off inheritances is dishonor. That's the fastest way. In Malachi chapter number 4 says that before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, I will send again Elijah the prophet. He will turn the heart of the fathers to their sons and the heart of the sons to the fathers. So the heart of the sons to the fathers and the heart of the fathers to the sons. Lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. No true move of God disconnects fathers and sons. No true move demonizes the fathers to establish the new. That's never happened. I am aware that even if you are not supposed to be part of a commonwealth, but honor can bring you there. Some of us were not privileged to be born in homes of the moves and all that. And I understand what is happening, seeing beyond the smoke screen. At each time the fathers are close to their exit, there's a movement of dishonor towards them, so that the next generation can be stranded. They will make the noise, but they will discover that they are empty. And let me give a very important example. The man we call Methuselah, some people call him Mawugriol for nothing. But the name means when he dies, the heir to be judged. His length of days was an expression of God's mercy towards them. They did not realize it. When he was taken, the flood came. I'm aware that there's a move for the next generation to be stranded. And honor has to be taught and demonstrated on behalf of a generation.
Stop. So you teach your people honor. How did, this is just a personal question now. So you honor people. You honor people strongly. And I'm saying that publicly. You honor people. Then I saw your people honoring people intentionally. So is it part of the curriculum that you teach? What, just say something around
Yes, it is. It's a culture.
It's a culture built.
Yes, it's a lifestyle. It's been taught again and again, and it becomes the signature with which you identify those who have been trained in the house.
Say that again.
It is the signature with which you identify those who have been trained in the house. If you are new, we can know through your level of dishonor.
Please say it again.
If you are new in our ministry, we can know through your level of dishonor.
Wow.
Nobody who has stayed in the house dishonors. Not even each other. Not even yourself. There is a way you can't serve yourself food. Yes.
I asked question because I saw how you honor. You started honoring a few fathers in the faith, and I like it. It's very powerful.
Thank you.
You honored this Baba before he died.
Prophet Olowere.
Prophet Olowere. And the day I saw it, I said, wow, this is good. You honored Bishop Wale, okay? I'm sure you have done much more. The final question. So you are viral now, right? Like, answer me now. You are hot.
I think you are a champion only to those who know you.
Okay. So we all know you. So, God's hand is on you. Two questions around that. Number one, now your spiritual father, somebody I know personally. I'm not sure too many people know him until when you posted about him or when you post regularly about him. But he's known. But people, not too many people got to. Somebody I love dearly. It's not so popular. So when you became viral, it didn't change your spiritual father, because you are more popular than him. You are more popular than him. That's no. And God has helped you. Why? First question. Second question. And that's the final question. I'm not asking you any question. I'm not asking you any question. How do you keep your head down? How do you stay humble? What are the intentional structures around you in this season of virality? Then number three. No, that's a personal question. I will ask you. Let's have that too.
Thank you, sir. Number one, fatherhood is not by name, it's by grace. a covering is not necessarily about the popularity. God sent me to go follow him, and he has not done anything according to scriptures that can make you stop following a man. So where he says to go, there I go. And our relationship is beyond just the church spiritual fathering. We have a very deep connection and relationship. And particularly a man, I was attending the church at the time that I will leave service and not have transport fare. And I'll have to trek. And many times he will discern and send somebody to give me money.
Wow.
If God brings a shift and you leave such a person, you need judgment. You need judgment. Until I met him, I've only followed the man. And the only reason I'm not following the man again is because he died. If God sends me to a place, there I stay. So don't see any reason to leave.
You don't have plans to change your spiritual father. Say it out publicly.
There's no plan. There shouldn't be. Your father is not necessarily a man who is everywhere, but the one who bets you on his knees in the place of doctrine. A man who is a model. So I for one don't subscribe to the idea of jumping everywhere, and most important things is, I think some of the things that affects relationship is offense. And I feel you can only be offended at your father when you feel you are bigger.
Wow.
So that's what I feel. I might be wrong.
Wow.
So, and then to stay humble, very simple. If anybody leaves the sin now, the body of Christ won't need 24 hours to move on.
As it ought to.
There are men who have operated on the sin and they are no more here. And the body of Christ moved on.
Yeah.
We maximize the opportunity given to us, use the time. We don't trap influence, we maximize it so that it is not sponsored with error. And sometimes protracted virality can be a sign that something is wrong. The message cannot always be appealing. And when it is not appealing, it is zoned. An algorithm switches. So I don't take the bait of believing that being everywhere is the same thing as being accurate.
Yeah.
I don't take that bait.
Yeah. Amazing. Have you been blessed? Put your hands together and celebrate Apostle. Thank you so much.